So let's say you come by a haberdashery as you're wandering around on a Tuesday afternoon. The sign says it has many good hats, and you suddenly find yourself, as everyone does at some point, seriously considering buying a Stetson and restructuring your life around pulling it off. I mean, heck, why not? You step inside, check out some hats, and they weren't lying. These are some hot fire hats. As we all know, choosing a hat is a big, impactful, potentially life-altering decision. And so you're imagining your life, who you could become in each of these various hats, and you make your decision. But let's say, as you're heading out of the haberdashery, you start to have buyer's remorse. Should you have bought the other hat? What would your future be like if you had? What would your life be like if you had? Would people start calling you sir? Would cats choose to sit on your lap instead of their owner's lap? What exactly is happening when you're doing this? Is consciousness a flounder? Let's talk for a second about quantum physics. You're probably already familiar with the double slit experiment. To review, it goes a bit like this. You take a laser cannon, like a little laser cannon, like a really tiny laser cannon, like it shoots a single photon at a time laser cannon, and you point it at a wall with 2 slits in it. And I'll put a screen back here so you can see where your photon lands and strap up this nifty board to show the results of where the photon hits the screen. If the photon is a particle, it'll go through the slit like this and hit your screen, so your results look like this. If the photon is a wave, it'll create an interference pattern that looks kind of like this, which will create bands of light with an intensity distribution that looks like this, and your screen will show something like that. Okay, test time, and on. Word. A wave. Oh, I almost forgot we had this little particle detector that sits on the slits and would show us which one it passed through if it was a particle, and it was switched off, but I mean, it shouldn't be relevant at this point. Let's just go ahead and fire it up for shits, and on. What the fuck? What? Oh my god, I just broke physics. So now it feels like we have no idea how physics works anymore. At least when it's tiny. Because you have this wave function that collapses when you measure it into a single particle, and we don't know why, and it makes no sense. But we have various guesses or interpretations, like we have the boring one, and we have the one that was developed by technically not Bob Ross. And then, of course, what we're going to focus on today, this guy, the fun one, Hugh Everett, who dropped a banging PhD in 1957, which went roughly like this. Hey, Hugh, buddy, we go from having this particle that's simultaneously distributed as being both here and also sort of there and not here because it's actually a wave. Then we measure it to make certain if it's, here or there, and it becomes just there. I mean, which makes sense in a way because it's a particle now, so it can't be here and there. Those are contradictory states that can't coexist within reality, right? Totally, I get it. Stressful, man. But also, yeah, they both exist. Actually, yeah, all of them do. I think you might have missed the part where I said those states both can't exist within reality. They're contradictory, Hugh. Oh, no, yeah, I heard you. I think you meant to say that they can't exist within the same reality. But the universe is deterministic, so they do exist, just, in different realities. Read my thesis. So that's the many worlds interpretation. And while it has its issues, it's extremely popular among physicists, and it has made a lot of pretty cool things possible. Now, getting closer to the issue at hand, let's consider Kanye. In our universe, this is the hat he chose. But there are many possible divergent options. This means there is a wave function of possible Kanyes. It turns out we live in the reality that contains this Kanye. But all these other Kanyes are equally real, just in separate timelines that are inaccessible to us. And the same thing happened when you picked your hat. This decision is your double slit. Before you decide, there are a bunch of wave-like possible future outcomes, each of which is real, but once the hat is bought, you end up in one timeline and collapse that wave for you, but not for the multiverse. So when you were leaving the haberdashery, unsure of your decision, imagining the version of yourself that bought the white hat, that imaginary self probably isn't imaginary. According to the many world interpretation, he's just in a different timeline, inaccessible to you, but still quite real, specifically right there. So you're stuck in your own timeline, but able to visualize a counterfactual that happened in a different timeline. Like how a flounder, with its ridiculous eye placement, seriously, what the shit is this? Always stays near the ocean floor, but is constantly looking up, able to see various depths that it will not enter. And this ability to imagine alternate timelines in our heads feels even more special knowing that they might be real, almost like a sense. An ability that makes us maybe uniquely us as humans able to regret, to upset over counterfactuals, to wonder what could have been, to stay up at night thinking about that time in high school the girl you had a crush on came up and asked you how you were doing and you just said, And it makes me wonder if that's what makes us special. If anything does. Maybe human consciousness is a quantum flounder. because I somehow doubt if cows or echidnas daydream about alternate lives in different timelines. Maybe this is what we are. And while this is completely wild speculation, the amazing thing about all of this is that we know so little about consciousness and have entered such a mysterious realm of discovery in quantum physics that seemingly absurd speculation like this isn't, or at least isn't entirely implausible. I hope you enjoyed this mental romp. I'll be making more of these, so subscribe or like or whatever YouTube people say to do if you want to see them.